Hi, I'm Joe Barnett. Welcome to my documentary on slaves. Joining us on our journey of slavery is Professor Rufus Fenwright, who has worked on many cases involving slavery, and my cameraman, Liam.
We are actually on our way now to liaison with the rural inhabitant that we've come across. He's an ancient ancestor of the indigenous people that were actually caught up in the slave trade a few hundred years ago. Not quite yet, there's still a few hours to go.
Okay.
But
Finally, we arrived at the forest of Kabui.
Hi, my name is Joe and we are going to see the Individualist tribe where Dr. Rupert Fenwright has said there is a local tribesman whose ancestors were slaves. So we're going to try and talk to him about the hardship of slavery, what it was like. So Rupert, we are embarking on our trail and can you drop any facts on us as we're getting there?
a couple of facts about slavery. Slaves back in the day, they were treated as objects. And like objects, although not looked on, frowned upon in today's society, it would be considered as an object back in the day that you'd be branded, from a slave point of view, you would be branded as that was the owner's way of keeping tabs on you. That's how they knew, whose possession you were, where you're from.
Yeah.
It's no different than now if you were to write your name, say, in a jumper. That's exactly.
Okay, for the people who don't know at home, Rupert, can you tell us something about the conditions of the slave ships that the slaves were then transported on through the Middle Passage?
The conditions were absolutely terrible. There would have been 300 to 450 people, slaves, crammed into a ship.
Yeah.
Now, obviously it depends on what type of ship you've got, depending on, you've got galleons, you've got frigates, but mainly transported by merchant ship, an average number would be between 300 and 450 people. Most of the time these slaves they'd be sleeping side by side, no space in between, they'd be sleeping on top of each other. Disease and bacteria spread horribly through these ships. Half the slaves didn't even make it back. Didn't make it to dry land again, purely for the fact they died of illness.
So, Rupert, when the slaves who got on land, what happened to them? What did they do?
Well, once the ships had reached land, they'd moor up. The slaves would be unloaded at the docks, and then they'd basically, the dead would be cast aside, they would be buried, burned, whatever. However, the owners of the land saw fit to get rid of the bodies, but the ones who were lucky enough to survive the trip would be basically put up for auction. They would be cleaned off, they would be covered in oil, make their muscles look good, make their teeth look good, make them look healthy, and then they'd be sold off for auction to landowners in the Americas, and in Britain as well. But the landowners would own acres upon acres of land, who would set up plantations along the lines of coffee, sugar, along those to make trade, make money, and those slaves unfortunately would be working on those plantations for the majority of their years and not seeing a fit pay for it either. So.
Right, guys, we've just found him. Shh. He's catching. He's getting his dinner. Shh. Don't startle him. Okay, so we've managed to track down Swally. Joe's with him at the minute, but this is the first sort of time he's been in the media's eye, but we're just going to try and ask him some questions about his ancestors, so just sort of bear with. He doesn't speak any English, but Joe's sort of studied up on the language.
Hi, we are here with Swally, and I have studied up on the subject of African language. and we are going to talk to him and find out how bad it was for his ancestors to be a slave. So, Gunga Gadeka.
These are stories passed down from generation to generation. My grandparents told me of a time when the crew, in fear of an uprising, tied 50 or 60 men to one long chain, tying them at their hands and their feet. They would stay in these chains for up to 20 hours a day. Horrendous. Just horrendous.
Joe, his ancestors, how young were they when they were sort of taken into slavery?
My great-grandparents were taken when they were 16 and 17 years old. They were kidnapped from their homes and forced into a life of slavery. It was quite common for the slave women to kill their own babies, usually by one swift chop of a knife around the infant's neck, ensured that their sons and daughters would not experience the horrors of the slave trade.
Thank you for watching Joe Barnett on Slaves. Join us next week when we dive even deeper into life of slavery.